Hello and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Kammer, and this week is another episode that I've done for myself. Don't get me wrong, I think this is going to be a good episode. I think you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy it, but this is one of those episodes where Rob pulls into his heartstrings and found a guest that I'm just going to nerd out about. This week we were having Oliver Cain on the show. Dude's done it all specifically in the Illinois independent scene. A nearly 20-year veteran of the ring, has wrestled all the greats that have kind of come through Illinois. He's one of the longest reigning 0-1 X Division champion with a 2-year reign under his belt. And that he's wrestled with Heartland Wrestling Association. Shared a locker room with John Moxley, Jake Christ, amongst others. We can make fun of it all we want, but he's sat under the IWA Mid-South learning tree as well, who brings in just crazy talent over the years. Has gotten to work with Eddie Edwards, El Generico, Davey Richards, Kyle O'Reilly, just you name it, he's done it. And we'll talk about this, but he was part of my very first independent wrestling event back in 2009. When I went to go see it, figured out that there's wrestling outside of TNA and WWE, and honestly a lot cheaper too. But Heartland Wrestling Association came to Peoria, Illinois, in the Central Illinois Fairgrounds, or Heart of Illinois Fairgrounds, the Opera House there. And they had part of this time it would be their TV tapings, because Heartland just started having television on the local CW network. And that's shoot, I want to go see wrestling. And then on top of it, I'm a huge Al Snow mark, and Al Snow was going to be there, so I had to go. And one of the matches that kind of stood out for me was the GP Code versus the Hybrids. And at the time, Oliver was a member of the Hybrids. And but the entire event was a lot of fun. And Oliver has gone on to do, show himself to be a wrestling standout since then. So we kind of talk about, actually we talk about the gentleman who become LA Knight at that event as well. But we just, we talk about his career. He's wrestled for nearly 20 years. And we just shoot the stuff, if I can clean up my language here for a moment. We were old friends. We just hit it off, and just, man, this is one of those ones where if I had cool behind the siege footage to throw out there, I would do it, because we talked for quite some time before and after the recording part, just about fatherhood, life in general, and just kind of how we see the wrestling scene evolving, and how it's kind of evolved. The indies have evolved over the last decade or so. But I had a lot of fun doing this, and just hit all of my proper nostalgia buttons for this. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this as much as I did. It was just really cool to talk to Oliver, and just, I don't know, as I said, talk shop and just trade anecdotes like we were old friends, even though this was legitimately the first time I'd spoken to him outside of him wearing tights. So that being said, we are going to do what we normally do. We're going to have the plugs coming up here, so be sure to get yourself an energy drink or a bag of coffee or a whole gosh darn coffee maker. And when we come back, I'll be nerding out with Oliver Cain. Hey folks, the Confusion Wrestling Podcast has become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Confusion Wrestling Podcast. As I said at the top of the show, personally, this is a very special guest for me. He is, done it all, kind of in the Illinois Midwest region, and I'm going to try to make him cry before we even get to the actual like get the part where he speaks. But like this is kind of like a big deal for me. Just I'm nerding out at the moment, but Illinois standout, Illinois, dare I say, legend, Oliver Cain. Oliver, how you doing this evening? As you cringe at the word legend.
I am trying to enjoy this podcast, and hopefully, my son doesn't start playing floor hockey behind me and being real loud. So that's kind of where my life has been this past couple months. Is it's been hockey season, 6U, his first year playing on a team and doing jamborees. So he is. They started calling him the enforcer because he plays. They only play 8U teams, but he's the only 6U team, and he is not afraid of people and he will fight them. So it's kind of, if it was any other sport, I would be like, hey man, calm down. But he never instigates the fight, but he doesn't take crap. So it's kind of, my house is hockey central right now.
Hey, I mean that is life. As we settle down and get families, but enjoy those moments because
Oh,
5 years, 10 years, you're just gonna be like, man, where's it go?
yeah.
But anyway, so the reason for the listeners why this particular episode is going to make me nerd out is because Oliver took part. It was part of the card of the first ever indie event that I went to clear back, and I believe is according to like what I looked at, 2009 with Heartland Wrestling Association. I forget the exact event name for it. I have it on DVD actually, but like it was headlined by
Wow.
Al.
I don't have that. I don't have that.
But it was headlined by Al Snow, which is one of the reasons like I wandered out of my parents' house and made my way to Peoria, Illinois. Uh, but
Mm.
but yeah, so like big nerd points for this. You're on my first indie show.
And we were talking earlier, you said it was a GP code match. Those were always fun. There's That really got us onto HWA because we had a basic kind of like a tryout match. My first tag match, I think, was against Dick Rick, who later became LA Knight, Eli Drake, well, LA Knight now, on our first HWA show. I don't exactly remember what that was. I have that one on DVD because my son loves LA Knight, my 6-year-old. And so it was kind of like, look at this, look at this. But the GP code really helped us a lot. Who you said we were working with is we had worked with Madman and KC a lot, New Midwest, and Madman KC worked in Scott County. We were talking about that off air, and we would learn how to do me and my tag partner Cliff, Jason Light. We would learn how to do a double team, like where the big guy would destroy us. And GP code was similar, as they had a smaller guy and a big guy. And so we basically recycled a lot of the spots from the Don and KC matches. And one thing I tell guys is if you're new at a place, come up with spots that puts the guy you're wrestling over, because then they'll want to work with you again, and that will get your foot in the door to come back. But yeah, it was wild. I can't. That's just wild that I was on your first match, like, card that you came to.
Yeah, like and it's just like not gonna lie, like I hadn't been able to follow your career like beat by beat off that, but like just to see that you're still you're still out there killing it on the scene, and like even going to places that like we've missed each other, but like we talked about Destination Six, and I'll touch on that a little
Mhm.
bit like later too. But, like I've been to Destination Six shows, and like you've been kind of a regular there in the previous couple of years, but you missed the one time I show up, you weren't there, but like but it's just kind of like looking back at things, like it's just been crazy because like just starting with like the Heartland, like with the hybrids, like you guys were sharing the locker room with like crazy talent and guys who would get big. I mean, not just like as like, oh, this guy just showed up for a show or two. Like, again, you brought up L.A. Knight, Dick Rick Lakis,
Mhm.
and any of his other thousand names before he got big. Obviously, most notably John Moxley, like started out in
Yes.
Heartland, and Jake Christ, who's killing it on the indies
Yes.
too. Like all those
Yeah.
guys, like you shared a locker room with like pretty early in their careers.
Jay and his brother um, really took us under their wing and got us bookings and taught us how to do tag wrestling and taught us how to go around and really got us in the HWA and looked out for us. Took us to a couple ROH shows that we kind of, helped out with the ring. And it was just, I couldn't say enough about what they've done for me. But, I jokingly say, and as bad as it sounds, it's all the guys that looked after me kind of got swept away and weren't the greatest sometimes, so they're not around anymore. Or I guess put blame it, all the people that looked out for me got canceled. So I mean, um, and whatever they did and got rid of them, I was not a part of that, but you know, uh, I can't. My story doesn't exist without them and them being kind to me and them getting me opportunities. But it was wild. Like that first show you were at actually was the debut of that Dick Rick Lycus character that became Eli Drake and became LA Knight because for that he wasn't because I remember riding to that show because we all got in a van that the owner Chad paid for and you know Dick Rick was like I'm going to start this new character, I'm doing this, listen to this, and he's playing these clips and then he comes out and he's like yeah, yeah, and so it was just wild because a couple years actually it was a couple years ago because I saw it on my Facebook feed. We went to WWE house show because Cody Rhodes was going to be there, and my wife got floor seats because my son at the time is Cody Rhodes is his surfer sting. So I was able to get photos with Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes would do the old intermission and then take all the photo pics but it was seeing but I got to see Dick Rick as LA Knight in the same town where he debuted the character years before, and it was a weird full circle thing. I feel sometimes that excuse me, like I'm the Forrest Gump of pro wrestling because I'm just there when things happen, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was there when that happened. Oh, I was in there, but yeah, it was wild. The funny thing is, the picture is I'm trying to lean out of the photo. It's on my Facebook, and so when I edited myself out, but it makes me look like so fat because my chest and is arched back and my belly's all out, and Cody's like, look at mom, and my boys are just so my son still talks about that. I mean, he did the Cody entrance. He had Cody's music playing during the hockey thing because he is just that's his dude. So he actually fun story, real quick, fun story about Cody Rhodes is my wife was doing my birthday card, and it was either my birthday card or Father's Day card, and my son said, "Well, I can't write that he's the best wrestler because he's not Cody Rhodes, but I still love him because he's my dad. Can you write that in his card?" And my wife's like, "What?" He goes, that dad's not the best wrestler because he's not Cody Rhodes. She's like, no, I'm not going to write that in your dad's birthday card. So yeah, but sorry, I go on a tangent, but it all kind of
Eh,
touches together.
this is what this podcast for is the tangents of my guests,
Yeah,
and like that's great. That's like something I would do. I'm not gonna lie, because like I would
yeah.
make terrible drawings of like wrestlers, and Dad would sneak in and make a
Hmm.
stick dad, and like then I'd have to like try to somehow turn into like Hulk Hogan or something, much to his chagrin.
Yes, which that's another thing. My son's um, goal pose, like in practice, because they can't when they do the jamborees, they don't keep score. It's just once a puck, once a goal scored, they just fire it out of the thing and they keep playing. But he'll slide on his knees and hit the Hogan bow and arrow pose because he's been doing that since he was little. He did that at his Christmas program when he was 4. He got mad this year for school photos because he's like, Dad, they wouldn't let me do the Hulk Hogan pose, so they made me put my hands at my side. So it's like he's a He's a wild man.
No, that's like that wasn't like an Eddie Guerrero feud back with like Steve Austin. So like that's something you can bring up in the coming year. Turn that into like a
Yeah.
feud. My son only does your pose, and and then well, yeah, I guess you got a guy, a person who's has a signature pose or something instead of just is like woo throws his arms up.
Oh, he everything he kind of does, I've never really like pushed him towards. I let him kind of decide what he wants. It's I don't know, to get off track of wrestling, but we got a rule in our house. You got to find an extracurricular. And if you sign up, you got to do the whole season. But if you don't like it, you ain't got to do it again, as long as you find something to do. And he's wanted to play hockey since he was 3. And my oldest son, who's 15, he wanted to play baseball and he's playing baseball. So I'm just kind of, you know, hey, if it falls during a tournament, well, I can't make that show. I've
Well,
kind of got to that point in my life. Like we were saying, I go, no one's ever been like, my dad came to too many of my things. So,
I
but
mean
back
that
to Peoria, the HWA show.
no, that's that. This is a podcast of life, and right now, dad is the big part of your life. So, like,
Mhm.
props to that. Not everyone gets that opportunity, or let's be realistic, like weirdly realistic about it. Not everybody's dad gets to come on a podcast and put them over
Yeah,
either.
I am, as much as I love being Oliver Cain, I love being Brooklyn, Maddie, Ben, and Nicholas's dad more. Um, my plan is to be, oh, that's Nicholas Kane's dad, or that's Benjamin Kane's dad. That's Matt. Not. I enjoy when they come to the wrestling because I'm still a superhero to them. But I know once wrestling's done, I'm gonna always be dad. So that's where my focus is.
But you mentioned the kids come to the show, so I have to ask, like, do they give you a hard time, while you wrestle? Like, do they boo dad?
No, no, they even if I'm the bad guy, they'll support me. They dad is the baby face even when he's heel. Yeah. So yeah, no,
So that's
I
better than the
they're
alternative.
team dad. They're team dad. Well, one time, my buddy Shank, I did a retirement show for him, um, where it was like $10 tickets, and I gave all the money we made to him because you don't really get a retirement, you don't get a watch. A lot of guys are retiring now. Me, I think I'm just gonna peace out. I'm not gonna have like the retirement tour or this is my last show. I'm just gonna not take a booking anymore. Um, But we did that to Shank, and people were chanting, "Let's go Shank!" And my son always loves Shank. It's like Uncle Shank. So he's like, "Let's go Shank! Let's go Shank!" And my wife's like, He's wrestling your dad," and he goes, "Oh, let's go Shank!" So
It's a retirement show. It's fine. It's a
yeah,
one off.
yeah. The funny thing is, so I have an action figure that he made me, like, or he's designated a action figure. That's me, and it's Kenta or the Atami figure from WWE. To which this is Dad, and I go, well, that's who Dad was trying to be when he started. So, because that era, like the 2008, 2010 era of Kenta, was
He was the
like
man.
ungodly great. So,
Yeah, he was the man. Like that's one of the things. Like I remember, like who's that guy? And like everybody was doing the kicks like he was, and then obviously Punk, CM Punk had famously adopted
oh,
go to
I
sleep,
hated
and
that. I hated that because I used to go to sleep as a tag move, and then he threw it on TV. And back then, I'm like, when you were an indie guy, you didn't do the Fed moves.
right.
Like if someone on TV was doing it, you didn't do it. So as soon as he did it, I was like, mother, now we can't do that. But I got a fun Kenta story. So we brought Austin Aries into the home Fed I worked for in Terre Haute called CCW. And we brought him in. We went to Chicago and picked him up, and he was working with Kenta, the show that they worked with each other for ROH. And so I had never seen Kenta, but the only guy I'd kind of seen was like Go Suzuki or whatever. So a lot of the guys that Japan, like, people had put over, that Go or whatever, so much back then in ROH. And I didn't wasn't a huge fan of his working. I wasn't a huge fan of just the trading chops, or more like an All Japan than some of the Noah stuff, right? And then I see Kento work with Aries because I loved Aries. Um, and it blew me away because I wasn't expecting him to be that Kenta. So like I saw him live and it was like, what the hell is this guy? And I immediately bought the DVD of him versus Low Key Final Battle, which was those two guys in that era. Say what you want about how they turned out, but Low Key and Kenta in that era was oof, so and I don't know. So see, I'm segueing this thing like I've told these stories, like I'm reading an autobiography. But so we brought in Aries and he stayed the night at my house. My wife was pregnant with our oldest daughter, well, my ex-wife now, uh, the first wife, and we got a picture with Aries with the pregnant belly. 10 years later, we're living in Tampa. I'm divorced, and so we're living in Tampa. We go to a Shine show because my friend Thunder Kindy is working on the Shine show and Aries was there. So we were able to get a picture with my daughter with Aries because Aries was like, you need to eat a sandwich back then. Because back then I was like a buck 45. Now my metabolism stopped. So I'm like 210. But yeah, so it was a wild. Aries took a photo with Brooklyn, you know. So it was just, yeah. Sorry, it kind of all they all flow together. I go on a flow there, pal.
Hey, no worries. I would rather have it do this than me sitting there going like, "You got to work with John Moxley once. How did that happen? How did that turn out?" I would rather just have you go on, as you put it, go on a tangent and or segue into another, into an infinite amount of stories than, uh, you know, me pretending to be Conrad Thompson and just being annoying in
Oh,
general.
I Mox was always nice to me. Mox was good. I forgot that my tag partner almost got in a fight with Mox because we had missed an exit to take him to the airport, and they about got. And my buddy was like, "I'm about to pull over and whoop his ass," because it is what it is. I'd forgotten that story till my buddies, my tag partner, and a couple of the guys I used to work with in Terre Haute. They came to a Destination Six show with me when I had it. Ended up having a Shank came back and ended up doing like a casket match with him, which was pretty fun. Um, but yeah, Mox was always cool. I got to fill in for somebody who couldn't make it last minute. I was in the gym and I got a call saying Ian Rotten needed someone to fill in with Mox, and my name was given. So I hopped in the car and drove from Terre Haute to it might have been Peoria when they were in the old Chomo building, as we called it,
Uh,
like the
the
schoolhouse, where
Bellevue
if you
Plaza, the illustrious Bellevue Plaza,
I think
where you
I think they kept I think people that live there, like if you pulled that red dot app up, it was pinging, you know what I mean?
uh, yeah,
I said that would be that wouldn't that be terrible if you were a ghost in that schoolhouse as a little kid and everybody that lives there is chomos.
oh, that building, like it holds a
Yeah.
soft spot for me, but like you get tetanus just looking at the building.
Yes. Yes.
Sitting in those old bleachers, because back that was before I started springing for actual floor seats for things. I'd just sit in the
Hmm.
bleachers, and then because it was IWA, I'd sit at the top of the bleachers because I found out that if you sit at the top of the bleachers, you were less likely to get ejected by the wrestlers climbing the bleachers.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
And yeah, that was we went that, and then when Cliff kind of we had our tryouts for ROH and it went well. And then we went to do another tryout later and the booker changed. And that's the worst thing that can happen because Pierce loved us. Pierce almost got us heat in the sense that he wanted Cliff to show some of the guys how to throw punches. And Cliff's like, I did not want to show the guys that worked at ROH how to throw punches. That's a good way to get me heat in the locker room. But Pierce loved us. Like we worked with Zero Gravity, which came from an HWA show in Peoria when we worked with him that Davey Richards was on, and Davey called and got our tryout with them, and we did a weekend Chicago loop with ROH with them. And the next time we came in and the booker had changed, so they didn't use us. And Cliff at that time was kind of like, "Well, my wife's pregnant. I need to go to school to become a cop," which he is now. And my dumbass kept wrestling. So, which led to me with the 0-1 or NWA, well, the NWA Midwest X Division title, which then became the 0-1 USA X Division title, which I held while at the same time I went to the Bellevue and won the IWA Mid South Light Heavyweight title, which I am the only person to hold both of those titles at the same time, which is, you know, something that it's wild to think of because I know at one time Delirious and Seidel traded them. So, but neither one of them ever held them simultaneously. So, but yeah,
Oh, see, I didn't cross reference. I didn't do that much work. Do my research to see the cross frames and like go for the full title lineages. But I did see like, but you held the end of the NWA Midwest slash 01 USA X division for like 2 years by the time everything was said and done. Like,
yeah, I think like 800 day or maybe something, a long time. It
yeah,
felt like a long time.
yeah, it was
Well, I tried to put it on other people. Well, it was we were building at the time we were building 0-1 Up or NWA Midwest. It was used to be Supreme League of Wrestling, and then we were trying to build it up, so we just kept it on me so I could go around and do this. And then I was trying to get rid of it because it weighs 10
right.
pounds and it's heavy. And so then I did the match with Jonathan Gresham, which we did a ladder match where so because he could take it to Japan and make it like a world title. And then by the time he came back, I was kind of done. And then I ended up moving to Florida then. But it was just fun. I have no regrets over that stuff. I have no um, you know, it was a good time working with those guys and getting to work with people. And I had a couple matches. I got to team with Christopher Daniels, which was wild. I wanted to come out the Fallen Angel by Poison, but I that was a show that the guy booked the show, didn't pay anybody, and Christopher Daniels gave him like the disappointed dad speech instead of killing him. And Bad Luck Fale was on the show, and so was Tony Kozina and some of Davey's trainees. Like we would always work with Davey's trainees, like when Kyle before he got his ROH thing. So like I've always loved Kyle, and I'm so glad he's back. He's better and doing what he can do. Kyle O'Reilly. Um, but yeah, so imagine not paying Bad Luck Fale what you said you were going to pay him, because that guy is a man's man compared to pro wrestlers, not indie wrestlers, like pro
and,
wrestler.
and and
Like
he's huge.
that's what I
like,
mean. Like he's
like,
so
like
yeah.
the
It was wild. It was wild. Chris Daniels set him down, and I exchanged info with Chris Daniels, and he was always nice to me. I should have took advantage of more of that, but I've always in the back of my head like not gave myself enough confidence of who I was or who I should like the ability that I had. And I'm not sitting here trying to blow smoke up myself now, but in hindsight, I should have took more opportunities instead of second guessing myself, if that makes any sense.
no, it's one thing when listening to a lot of interviews and then by proxy conducting the interviews. Like that's something kind of
Hmm.
like I hear a lot ish. Like maybe they won't come out and say
Hmm.
it, but like the part of the problem with wrestling, in addition to it being a very social, like I don't want to call it a social club,
Hmm.
but in terms of like getting your
Yeah.
bookings and whatnot, but like you also have to put yourself over, and it takes a certain attitude to be willing to put yourself over doing that. Like I run into that problem like so much. Like when I talk about the podcast to
Yes.
like non podcasty folks, like like
Like I had a sales position at one time, and I'm terrible at it because I can't cold call people. But and it was that's what you have to have. Like sometimes I'll look and be like, I wish I had that delusion of grandeur that some people have. I would have got a lot further in life. It's a weird thing. I had so much like anxiety about things, and I ended up doing it, and I did fine. Like I was afraid to like I would be afraid to sing, and then when I was in Florida, I hopped on the stage with a couple friends of mine that were in a band, and I killed it. And they're like, dude, you should do this all the time. But like my anxiety would, keep me from trying new things. And you got to kind of you have to fight it. And I wish I would have known how to act back then better than, you know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, if butterfly effect, if something would have zigged instead of zagged, I wouldn't be where I am today, happy, getting to be watch a little 6-year old beat the shit out of people on, on the ice.
I mean, like that's kind of a beauty of of like hindsight is that you can sit back and go like hindsight being like what it is. It's kind of like perverse to be like, I'm glad thing like I didn't live my dream in a certain way because
Hmm.
life that you can't imagine your life being how it is now if you're in that good place and like and even then like I don't know. As I put like blowing smoke up you, but yeah, like even if you didn't get the WWE contract or become TNA World Champion or like whatever your goals were, like if you just cage match like some of the again like the people you've been around people you've gotten to work with it's just insane like I explicitly wrote down because it just like blew my mind in my head just like this match
Hmm.
happened in general but like I didn't even write the company down but it was El Generico versus yourself versus Mike Seidel versus Davey Richards and I'm like that is like a fever dream of a match.
The match before that match is online. The match before that, I worked with Eddie Edwards, and he had just gotten back from Noah, and so I got Noah chops. You know what I'm saying? But what am I going to do? Puss out?
Right.
Part of my language. What am I going to do? Like not take him? And then I'm putting the match together with him, and he goes, and this I always had a good relationship with Davey Richards. It seems I always had a good relationship with Aries whenever I saw him. So sometimes people, I guess people, have the feelings about people. I guess I would say sometimes assholes get along. But they were always kind to me, so I can't heal on them, right? Um, he We were talking about the match and he was like, and then you do this and you do this. And I go, and he goes, and what's your finish? I go, I use a triangle choke. And he goes, you got any cool way? And we do this. And I go and go for a schoolboy and I turn it into a triangle. And he goes, cool. And then I tap out. And I'm like, what? Like in my head, I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, Davey says you're cool. You've been real respectful. I'm doing my comeback. And he goes, on a bump, bump, bump. And I'm like, you are Eddie Edwards. Can you rock? And then I bump you on the last one. And I don't think he was used to like I had so much reverence for him. I'm like, you're Eddie Edwards. Like, you're not like, dude. And so he's like, yeah. And then I'll tap out. I'm like, okay. And then there's a video, and Seidel was I love Mike. Mike was such a good dude. I wasn't around Matt a lot, but I was around Mike significant, and Mike was always sweet. Um, Generico does a dive, and me and Mike catch him. And when we catch him, I lift him up to keep him from like hitting his. And at the end, he's like, "Oh, thank you, you saved my life. You protected me." So but it was weird because the first time I saw Generico without his mask, but okay, you know, it's Seth Rogen. And the funny part about that show is the funniest part about that show is whatever, I don't, the bit, but one of the guys there, his wife was Hispanic. So she's talking to Generico in Espanol and just riding her off. And he's like, see, because he doesn't know Spanish. Yeah.
That was part of the gimmick is like it was just like
So she is
ole
talking to
see
him fluently in Spanish. And he's just like, trying to, but so yeah, it was
I
fun,
mean
easy. Those guys were easy to work with. It was amazing. Like I said, look up the match. I am lit up because I wrestled against Eddie Edwards before that match, so my chest is purple. But I'm not gonna not take chops from Eddie Edwards. I'm not gonna cover up. You know what I mean?
right. I have to ask. I didn't see this pop up, but like, have you got to work Gary J?
No, I have not got to work with Gary J.
Oh, I was gonna say because bringing up the chops and how
Yeah.
bad at Noah Eddie Edwards
No,
chops.
I've
Like,
I've been on plenty of shows with Gary. I love him to death. I've never worked with Gary. He's actually with one of my best friends in the business that I love with is the sweetest man in the world, Aaron Williams. I love Aaron Williams. I brought him in to a 0-1 show just because I wanted to wrestle with him. Um, so like I at that point, they weren't doing much with me towards the end of my 0-1 thing. Just so I just asked the promoter, I'm like, can I just pay my friends to come wrestle me? Because I had like disposable income, and I'm like, I want to work with Hades. I paid Hades to come in because I wanted to wrestle with him. I paid Aaron to come in because I wanted to have a match with him, because I'm just like, I don't care what you, if you guys aren't going to do anything storyline with me, just let me wrestle my friends that I've always wanted to wrestle. I'll cover the bill. That way you ain't got to worry about it. So, and when I do that, I'm like, I'm never that guy that's like, brother pay. I was, what's comfortable? Like, tell me what you need where you're not losing your butt. Like, don't give me the mark price, but I'm not expecting you to drive 6 hours for $20. What do you need where you can be good? Because I'm at
I,
that point where I wanted to hang. I want to see my people as much as I can before I eventually done. You know?
and that's like a sweet spot to be in with, like, just to be in a point in your life where you can do that. Like, yeah, without getting on a soapbox about the
Yeah.
economy and whatnot, but like having the income to do that, especially while doing the wrestling thing, it's yeah, I mean, it's something. At times tough and have been tough for a
Yes.
long time, and just have the ability just to basically just at a certain level, like yes, you're also paying out of pocket for it, but just to kind of get paid to hang out with your friends and do friend
I don't know
stuff,
if that
like.
time I was married to my or with my new wife. I mean, I got lucky. I like to say I defeated Tinder. I like conquered it. Um, because my wife became a partner at a law firm, and so I had, bills were paid. I was covering, I was, paying my part of the bills, and we were. I don't know how I was able to. I tell my kids, I'm like, don't bank on this. Your dad, had to. I don't know how I did it. I still don't know how I did it. I'm blessed with my life. My wife is my favorite person in the entire world. I always joke that with this wife, I don't. I want her. I want to be around her, so I don't travel as much wrestling. If that makes any sense. Uh, no, my first wife, we didn't work out, but she wrestled too for a little bit. But I'm glad. The best part about this wife is she doesn't like wrestling really, so I don't have to worry about her getting involved or being a part of the show or wanting to be my valet or wrestle or anything. She shows up when she wants with the kids sometimes, and likes the people she knows. Other than that, she wants to leave. So
Mine is my security because I run my mouth too much.
my wife is a third degree black belt. So like, and she is the coolest person I know. She's awesome. I could sit here, if this was a podcast on how great my wife and kids are, I could go on. But yeah, no, with the wrestling, I get bored sometimes, and I'm helping with this thing called Mad Bash Wrestling, and I took a joke we were making in the group chat and turned it into a legitimate belt and made a Baja World title, and then I dropped the title to a buddy of mine, a Abstract, right as he was about to go to Japan, so he could defend it in Japan. So then it's a world title. So it was just
But that's the stuff that I come to wrestling for. That
it's a teal belt that's got like palm trees and waves and the ball like a Baja Blast. Look, I'm trying to fix my hat, my Illini hockey hat, but I just bought two new belts because I was bored. Um, because with my son doing the hockey, I got a X Division title, but instead of the X, it's a Illinois I, and it's a hockey belt. So it's. I'll send you pictures of it, but I got one. Let's see. Here's the cheap Baja. The other one's nicer. They made it a flat plate, but I got a better one that I use. But yeah, here's the put that in the, if you can see, that's the
Oh,
Fighting
nice.
Illini hockey belt, which I'm going to give one to the team because they're the ones that taught my son how to play, and I kept one for myself. So yeah, it's I get a wild hair at my ass and do dumb stuff.
Yeah, I started a podcast.
I got a podcast I'm doing next week for my buddy for the Mad Bash Studios one, where we're reviewing the July 29th episode of Nitro, the one where they get jumped in the back. The the
Oh,
lawn dart one.
lawn dart. Yeah,
And
yeah,
as a production, like as someone who's a fan of cinematography, the way they do it and the way they sell it is just, it makes me so excited watching it because it's probably the best wrestling television episode. But the live crowd, because back then you didn't have the big screens that they could do live, and started a boring chant because they were like 35 minutes in the back because they're selling it like it's real. It's They had cops called to to
yeah. Like, how often does that happen if with the big leagues?
and like
Like,
the whole people will call it now the Owen Hart tone that the announcers take, where it's like this is
yeah,
they were doing that on that. They were selling it. They sold it like it was watching it. It I don't know, man. So yeah, I just have fun. I get to wrestle. Um, I'm at my point where I'm doing my bucket list items. So a couple weeks ago, I did a lucha show for All Star Lucha, and I got to come out to an Enrique Iglesias song that's in Spanish. One that I used to listen to when I hung out with this Cuban girl, this Cuban woman that was a good friend of mine. That if I probably wouldn't move back to Illinois, it probably would have been my wife. Uh, so yeah, but yeah, so I because I can't come out to a Spanish Enrique song normally. They'd be like, "What is this guy doing?"
right.
But at a Lucha Fed, I can do it. So, and it was just I had a good time. I'm at that point where I'm just oh, dude, I was nervous because it was at the Berwyn Eagles, uh, and me and Cliff, we used to have like a Chicago curse. Our first match for any Fed at Chicago, we would just shit the bed. I got like my one of my worst concussions in that building wrestling with the airborne because Danny's the AAW ring back then was it had like the thin layer of the carpet padding, like the particle carpet padding on the wood, and I took an elbow drop on my knees and on my hands and knees, and my forehead drove into the mat, and I was gone. I was the worst concussion I ever had. Years like I didn't know where I was, and then you start getting that amnesia feeling, and yeah, it wasn't. It was just one of those freak accidents in the ring. But so to be back in that building when the last time I had wrestled there was back when only AAW and Shimmer worked there was it was a real like full circle moment, and a lot of the things I just take in and enjoy because I know this might be the last time doing it. If that makes any sense.
Well, and we'd kind of before the can't I shouldn't say the camera started, but before you hit the record button, like you kind of talked about that you didn't think you'd do anything that resembled a retirement tour or big like go out. You're just gonna just kind of stop taking
Yeah,
bookings, and at the end of the day, as long as you get to dictate when that happens, like that's again, that's the ideal. That's life,
I've been
like
lucky. I've
especially in
rolled my
wrestling.
ankle a couple times. I've had like a couple big concussions. I get my bell rung occasionally. I mean, everybody knows that you just can't. I've had rotator cuff surgery on one shoulder, but that was a couple years back, so that was probably just 20 years of wear and tear. I've never really had any bad injuries. Um, the guys that get hurt and then are back indie wrestling have more guts than me. I think if I got hurt real bad and like broke my forearm and all this stuff, I think I'd just be like, especially like at certain ages. But I'm 42 now. I just, so I got to kind of, don't let this took me forever to be able to grow facial hair. So
Yeah, you were like, despite working heel, like you were like the definition of like a baby face back like when I
oh,
first started.
I always found I got more heat smiling. I always got because they're like this little shithead, like than trying to be like the way I looked being having a scowl doesn't really they're like whatever, dude. But like if I'm smiling, that makes people mad. Like I know a secret or I'm just that shit eating grin. They're like, "Oh,
Thinks he's better than me, smiling at me.
yeah. Yeah. It's hard because sometimes that it like works in real life too. Like I was the guy we used to laugh because my buddy Cliff would just tell people that they sucked if he thought they sucked. And they'd be like, "Oh, Cliff, ha ha ha, me." I'd be like, "Man, you did really well, but when you throw a punch, next time rear back just a little more." And they'd be like, "Effing Oliver," you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I am, I look back and I am appreciative of what I've been able to do. when I can remember it because it's so much. Sometimes I forget until you get on a story, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, that did happen."
I mean, that's like that. This is low key, like why do the podcast is just to like draw those moments out, or just to be able to sit back and be like, oh yeah, like that is sweet. Like that is if you're going to be in the business, like this is what you want, or this is just crazy to listen to and think back upon. And then like I really like, for me being a fan just in general, is just like thinking about how people's how people's lives have crossed, whether it's one night or
Mhm.
you got to share the locker room for years or whatever, or just kind of like the random stuff of just like, oh yeah, I saw this guy like my first indie show, and like, oh shit, it's 20 years later, and like do like our paths cross again, even if you wouldn't like know who I was out of a lineup, because it's not like I'd been in a thorn in this anybody's side about this or whatever. Like it's just
Mhm.
like crazy go nuts, like like seeing people, and especially like, as an indie fan, just watching people kind of like grow or have you know dream matches, or just be put in these situations where like you can be like at the top, you're at the top of the you're at the top of the company even if you're not the champion, because like we've talked about like IWA Mid South a couple times, but like
Yeah.
you were like like well, really they didn't have much of a long list of a champion, but like you were like one of like the guys in one way shape or form in like IWA Mid South for the bit, and even had like a we can make fun of Ian Rotten all day long, and most likely justified, but like you were at the top of the cards, and like even got to like work like almost like a catch style match with them too, which was
Yeah,
crazy go nuts too.
we had that match, and I had been doing jujitsu, and afterward he goes, "You're a lot better than I thought you were." And I was like, "Thanks. I wish you paid me that well." In hindsight, I have a funny story about my IWA Mid South stuff. So, I mean, we all had the not getting paid thing, but so I'm. He had brought DJ Hyde had bought CZW around that time, and so everybody's trying to get a shot at CZW. And at that point, I'm living in Indiana, and I don't want to drive 8 hours for an opportunity. I never was a deathmatch guy. To each their own. So the deathmatch guys are usually the sweetest guys in real life, but just I don't know, never was my thing. Um, I respect them as people. They were always sweet. Everybody I dealt with deathmatch wise, 100 like top quality people. So he's in the back, and people are asking to get booked, and I'm just sitting there. I'm sitting there. This is after I cut a promo, or this might even be the night that I wrestled at the end, or maybe I was working with Bucky at that time. But he goes, everybody's like, well, why would I take you? I'm already booking this guy and this. And then I'm just sitting there, and he looks at me and he goes, "You look like AJ Styles and you sound like AJ Styles. Why would I book you?" And I'm like, I'm not even talking to him. I'm thinking, "Well, why wouldn't you book me? Like, I've seen some of the guys you use," which made me laugh because a couple years ago, a show we did for Madman in Decatur, they brought in Kong, and I'm just standing there, and she comes up and she goes, and I told her we were talking. She goes, "I thought you were my friend Alan." And, and I'm like, "Is Alan who I think?" She goes, "Yeah, AJ." And I'm like, "I'll take that. I'll take, because he's the guy that got me back into the wrestling business. 100%. I was watching, this will age me. I was watching the TNA, like just matches on Real Player.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
Real
yeah, yeah.
Player? So I watched an Amazing Red and Styles match when he had Pumpernickel or whatever the guy's name was that as his manager on TNA. The blonde guy, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, that had the sweater
was it?
vest.
Oh, now I'm gonna blank on that too. Like
Maybe it's
Mortimer
Mortimer
Plumtree.
Plumtree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. So to hear when someone's like, okay, like, to be fair, if the reason my gear is the way it is with the signature down the side is because Styles did that. He doesn't do it anymore. And I put my tiger tattoo on the side of my long tights because of Sting. So I Styles is the dude. He's still my goat. He's still my favorite. My son liked Styles, which I was glad. Um, like, so to hear that, it was just weird how you look like AJ Styles and you sound like AJ Styles. And this is when I was wearing trunks, and I'm like, "Well, why wouldn't you use me if you can get me cheap?"
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. But yeah, I enjoyed what I did, and then I haven't really had any like big blow ups. I don't think. I just kind of go away from feds, you know.
yeah. That's the beauty of the industry is that if you especially if you know things are gonna go down, like, just
Yeah.
extricate yourself from the situation.
Well, my favorite thing about professional wrestling is I tell people, especially independent wrestling, is honestly, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. Like if you don't like what they're going to do with you, you just tell them I don't want to do that, and you don't. I mean, you might not ever get booked again, but you never have to do anything you don't want to. You have to be okay with not working there anymore. But like I guess my biggest advice now to young kids, like any the kids that I give advice to, because I kind of have a I kind of talk with them. I'm nice to everybody. I'll be kind to anybody, but you have to pass like a certain thing where I feel like you're worthy of me giving advice to, because I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to deal with someone that I'm like, hey, you should do this, and they're like, and but, you know, because that's not how. Like these kids aren't afraid of veterans like I were, and not that I want them to be afraid of me, because that's weird. But if I'm going to invest in you, I want to invest in you. You know what I'm saying? But the thing that I tell most kids is if they're starting out, I'm like, look at it as an acting gig. Show up, do what the promoter asks of you to the best of your ability, be nice to everybody, then go home. I go, if you're going to talk your shit, talk it in your group chat or talk it in the car. Don't talk it at shows, none of that. And there's a difference between, bullshit and talking shit and then being like posting it and doing all this stuff. But ask what the promoter wants and do the best to the best of ability of you to get over what the promoter wants, because they're paying you to play a role. That's the easiest way to have no enemies. Just show up and do the best you can. Clock in, clock out. There's no point of getting emotionally invested in an independent organization, because at the end of the day, it's just indie wrestling. Go wrestle, have a good time, and then go home.
Put the professional in professional wrestling is what I hear.
Yeah, it's it's made it so much easier, because when I first came up, it was like right as the ECW thing was ending. So all these indie feds were like fighting each other. Where if you work for me, this is who you are, this is what you are, this one's the best, this one's the best. And I'm like, well, how are you going to make any money unless you work for other places? But at that time, it was like almost like the Warriors, where there were a bunch of little gangs that, oh, this fed's the best and screw these feds and vice versa. Like, you know what I mean? It was a real cult mentality when I first came up. And I'm glad it's not like that anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and the only way to get better is to work a lot and work with a diverse crowd, I feel like. I mean, granted, this is me on the other
Y-
side of the guardrail, but
Yeah.
getting your reps and getting your reps against different kind of folks that work differently from you is the best way to learn, I feel.
Yeah. And I've done it all, like in a sense of coming up, like, I was 145 pounds. So I can tell you how to, you know, work at 145 pounds. And I can tell you what worked for me and what didn't. It was like, my attitude, because I had a tendency of saying what I felt, and it would bite me in the ass sometimes. Um, when it wasn't necessary. Like, there's no need to bring yourself extra heat. Just if you don't want to work for a place, then just don't work for the place. There's no need to dog it. Just don't work for them, because I never understood, or trying to take another Fed down because you have a buddy that might, have a good payday there. So just, I think people got, when you get too emotionally invested as a us versus them, as opposed to just, we're going to go out, we focus on making what we're a part of the best. Who cares what someone else does?
Mm. It's a friend of mine, Joe Monroe, would say, "Just shut up, enjoy wrestling." Just,
Yeah.
uh,
Are you having fun? I mean, sometimes you have matches that fall apart. One of my favorite things to say is, The fans weren't back here when we put it together, you know. And sometimes, and I also tell people, give your match a good couple days before you watch it back, because then it's not fresh in your mind. So something that you thought was a colossal mistake, you can watch back and it's like, oh, we covered this and I we didn't even notice it. But if it just happened, then you know, you know what I mean, all the steps. And in my opinion, as bad as it might sound, I think wrestling has gotten too formulaic and too clean. Like everybody bumps the same, everybody hits the ropes the same. Like you watch the older stuff and there's more of a like emotion to it. Like as cool as moves are, you're never going to get the pop that you get from like a well-placed punch. And I feel like an old, and it's not me just as an old guy saying this, it's because I've gone through and done it. Like and I've tested it, and you know the crowd wants that crowd interaction. Like that's why 10 punches are fun to do and people used to not do it. I know when I came up we would think things were lame, and we were just thought we every generation thinks they're reinventing the wheel when you can take stuff from the older generation and it worked for a reason.
No, it's exactly like I've been a huge proponent of Brutal Bob Evans, and that's one of the things like
Hmm.
he really promotes on his social media for wrestlers is that you're wrestling for the crowd at the end of the day. Like, yes, it takes cooperation between you and your opponent, but you're not working for the promoter necessarily. You're not working for the guy you're wrestling. You're not working for your tag team partner. You're working for the crowd, and then the crowd is going to be the one to remember you and ultimately decide whether the match was good or not, despite whatever it is you
Mm.
thought you were going to do for it. But
Yeah, that's it's like that track. It's like you have to find you have to find a way to get the crowd into what you're doing while following the rules of what the promoter put in front of you. So because you still at the same time are being paid by the promoter. So your job is to work in the parameters that the promoter gave you to get over. Like, I mean, when I came up, you, if there's a chair shot in a certain match, no one else is using chair shots. And it's rarely done anymore. And as weird as it sounds, I work so much better when you give me guide rails because then I can hone in and be a little more creative because I can see, okay, well, we've done this pass so many times. How can I tweak it? But if I'm like, you can do whatever you want, then I'm like, I can't focus. You know what I mean? My brain is too, I need the guardrails and then I can, you know, trick people with, you know, stuff like that.
I could get on a whole old man yells at cloud, about like how I think wrestling should be and how I think promotions should like run their stuff. But I don't have promotion money and
Oh, phew.
whatever. But
I get on that sometimes. It's that's what the good car rides for.
yeah,
And like I said, at the end of the day, whatever the promoter asks of me, the only time I'll ever like talk with a promoter about that is I'll be like, I will, and this is because I've been doing it a while. I'll be like, what are you trying to get over? And then could we try what about doing it this way? If not, it's okay. I always preface it with you're in charge, but if you're trying to get this over, can we try it this way? And that's, you know, and it's also time and place. I'll do that at like not as like if I was at an AEW show or ROH show or something or a bigger indie that production value and they have the stuff planned out, you know, whatever, tell me what you need from me and I'm going to get it over the best way I can. But like the smaller feds where you have a little more freedom, and I also don't try to step on anybody else's match other than like if I'm the first half main event, I'm going to try to give them a reason why they need that intermission. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I could sit here and to me, wrestling is one of the easiest things that people screw up for some reason. Like booking to me or building shows is should be so simple that people overthink.
no,
I'm not a, it's, I look at wrestling. Okay. I guess this is, I look at wrestling as like comic books are supposed to be looked at, right? Every comic book is written in a way that if it's your first comic book, you can understand what's going on. I think a problem with wrestling shows is they're not booked that way anymore, because every wrestling show should be booked in a sense that if it's your very first wrestling show, you can understand what's going on. I'm not a big fan of these shows where you need, I feel like you need like the sort, like a book, a booklet, a pamphlet to tell you, oh, well, this happened this show and then this, and well, and they were cousins and he dated his, that type of stuff. Like to me, it's, but whatever.
I mean, I feel like if you've been around long, you know, if your company's been around long enough, maybe you can get away with that. But like if you're just, you know, if your shows if your promotion's less than 5 years. But no, I agree. I think we overthink things, but and we need to do things in a way that we can set up the universe, like in universe,
I think
continuity.
yeah. And I think sometimes that happens in matches where people will have a blow off match at a Fed and it's the first time they're working at that Fed. So I'm like, the fans don't know your guys' backstory. So you're having a blow off style match that they don't even know why you guys hate each other. So
Yeah.
like your head canon is far past what the fans know.
Right. Well, I look at it like for my first ever indie show. I didn't know what was so
Hmm.
special about seeing Dick Rick Lakis. But
Yeah.
I had
That's awesome though, that this all, because it literally like 2 days ago was the anniversary of that Peoria WWE show, which I was talking with Jason Ayers about that, the ref. Because he's like, dude, are you here? And I'm like, no, I just left because we had school. It was a Sunday show. It was a Sunday show. So as soon as Cody performed, we got out because the other kids had to go to school on Monday. Nicholas wasn't. So, but yeah, I'm not as cool as Cody Rhodes, which is fine.
I mean,
Which is
you
fine.
know, that's if you pay attention to your wrestling, like yeah, it's a pretty high bar to fill, I guess. So,
Yeah.
but
So we were talking earlier beforehand about SCW and Crotch. I'm
oh
going to give
yeah,
you this fun story about me and Crotch. So there's a wrestler named Bobby Houston. Do you know Bobby
yeah,
Houston? Okay. He ran a show that he used to just call it Live Pro Wrestling, and then someone whined about it, so it became Funky Monkey. But I've known Bobby Houston since he was the primetime player in New Midwest when he first started wrestling. So he comes back because he went down to work for High Spots because him and Jake, Mr. Elite, who ended up being the Man Scout or whatever, I think that's what it was
yeah.
called. They did this, the greatest, my in my personal opinion, the greatest comedy wrestling documentary ever is Heroes of Burke County. Have you ever seen
I
that?
have not.
It
Where's
is
my pen?
wonderful. Heroes of Burke County is Jake goes and interviews these guys at this local shindy show, and it kind of led to $5
I was gonna
wrestling in a
say because
sense.
like I'm aware of like the Burke County Boys. I think that's what there's.
Yes, but it's the because he based it off the heroes of world class. So then he's interviewing these guys, and they're doing like they had a lightning strikes match, and at one point this guy rolls under the ring to gig, and he looks at Jake because Jake's filming it because they rented the high spots ring, so they brought him the ring, right? And he's like, "Did I get it?" And Jake goes, "Do it again." Like it is perfect. Like they're not allowed to use thumbtacks on their shows because it's in a parking lot and someone got a flat tire. It's so anyway. Bobby Houston comes back. He's running a show, and so it's me and Krotch, and I've known Krotch from SCW and then AAW, and I love Krotch. He's my guy, and we're working this match, and I get the idea. I'm heel. Let's do the sunset flip in. I'll hold the ropes. You pull my tights down. My ass is showing, and I take the rest of the comeback in the finish with my ass out. Right? Hilarious. Old Chris Candido stuff. Right? Gets over. Everybody's loving it. Pat's loving it. He pulls us to the side, and he goes, "I can't use you guys for a couple shows." I go, "Oh, what happened?" He goes, "I go, did we do something wrong?" He goes, "I loved what you did. It was hilarious. It just so happened that there was a pastor in the audience and I can't use." So that's when he started to go as Matt Mayday because I can't use a guy named Crotch and the pastor was in charge of the building, and because
Oh,
you showed your, and I'm like, oh, so me and Crotch got banned from Funky Monkey before it was Funky Monkey for a little bit because his name was Krotch, and I had my ass out the whole finish of the match.
Uh,
Which I still say that that type of male nudity is just for hilariousness, not the old Candido.
uh,
You know,
you're taking
they pull
pratfalls
the
and
tie. Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Just yeah, because it still comes out every now and again. Just trying to think who does it now a lot. The Runway, Tyler Klein specifically, the Runway does that quite a
yeah,
bit as well. Where some variation his pants come down, and whether he was doing a stink face or something, and now he's wrestling like the next like 3 minutes with his butt hanging out. But
yes. We another one since was talking about the Mad Bash thing I do with my buddy that runs that named Dickie Wabash. He made a couple wrestling documentaries called the Danville Dreamers, and I was in one like Danville Dreamers 2, which they called me Burt Reynolds or Turd Ferguson because I'm chewing my gum the whole time. And they said, "Are you excited?" I go, "I guess." I go, they go, as long as the cash is in the envelope is what they said they'd pay me. That's all I care about. But yeah, he's those were kind of spiritual successor, and I'm trying to get Pat on his podcast because of the Heroes of Burke County, he made his Danville Dreamers thing, which kind of led to the Mad Bash thing, which we do a little bit. We're going to start running shows this year. We're just trying to find some more venues, and I don't know, man. Looking into running shows, it blows me my mind how some of these people have all this disposable income to run the shows and pay for the ring and pay the talent, and you know they ain't making it back. Me, I'm too like, oh, if I lost my ass on it that bad, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not doing that again. I guess that's why tax season is when people buy rings and you see all these feds pop up, right?
Yep. There's one Fed that like only shows up as like tax return wrestling, and they like do you.
Yes, I worked on
Okay,
one of those
yeah, they do.
shows. That's
It's Anakin
Anakin
Murphy.
Murphy.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I love that kid. I loved when he was coming up training. I kind of when him and Mad Dog and all them were doing their training in Springfield, I would hop in on the ring and kind of work with them a little. I love those guys. They're as you know, they've always been good to me, and it's glad to see. I'm glad to see them stretching out, doing what their thing. Another cat that I've always like looked out for is Beef.
Oh yeah.
He's doing ROH now. I
Oh,
love
beef.
Beef. I told him, I said, if you ever need a J Brone, and he goes, dude, you're not a J Brone. I go, I know, but if I can get on TV one time as J Brone, that would be. I don't have much left on my bucket list. Like I said, I got to do the Enrique entrance. I think I want to go overseas one time, just to do it because I think I might be able to get to Japan one day, like sometimes next year. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, because Japan was huge when I came up. Even if it's just I'm going over there for a week to wrestle one or two shows and then come back, it would still be like. In fact, I had a having Evil Knievel gear made because it's all American just for it. Um, and working on something that's going to be really expensive. Shoot, I'm see if I'll have. I'll tell you that after when we
All
hang
right.
up because I don't want to write a check with my that does not happen. But if it does happen, it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. Um, but if it doesn't, whatever. So I'm at that point where I'm throwing shit against the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks.
Well,
But I appreciate you having me on here, and I've really enjoyed just bullshitting with you, including the pre-show thing. So
so it's one of the rare occasions where instead of giving like the proper debriefing, pulling back the curtain at my end, yeah, proper debriefing of like how I run this podcast, we just started telling random stories because I start like I practically introduced myself as like, hey, you were on my first indie show, and then it was just all downhill from there. We didn't even like barely talk business stuff, or by business I mean again like the how I run the podcast, how I had the schedule of events and whatnot of how this goes behind the scenes. But
oh, I can give you a breaking exclusive,
oh,
which is kind of neat. So I am sponsored currently by Buy, like the drink, because I have a buddy who like is at the distribution center. So he's like, yeah, here. He gave me a bunch of free Buy, and he's like, you can say you're sponsored by us. So me and Sydney Sweeney are sponsored by Buy, so it counts.
there
I
we go.
said, I claim it. I just started like today because, like I said, I still feel like I don't know. I tried to get him to see if I could get like a cutout of Sydney Sweeney to take to shows and put my gimmick shirts on. You know what I mean? So
I mean, you gotta go somewhere. I mean, Air Cannon got the PBR
I mean, like,
sponsorship out of the deal, just by
I
drinking.
mean, like, I'm. He brought me like 2 cases, and he says, "You can say, go for it, man." And then like I sold a couple of the ones to the wrestlers in the back because they're like, "Man, I'm thirsty," and I'm like, $2 a thing. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." That's the little bit of Colt Cabana in me, I guess.
You haven't gone like full Ricky Morton where people give you gifts and then you just like sign the gift and then sell it at the merch table.
Yeah, dude. That's the thing too. If I look at it and as I would love to wrestle, I don't know if my body could handle that old. I think I haven't been in the ring. I've been out of the ring too much regularly to be doing like the four shows a week like the Fed does or traveling that much. I feel, God bless them. God bless them. I luckily, I have my sciatic bothers me a little bit. My right shoulder is caught up to my left shoulder, so I'm doing physical therapy for that. But other than that, you know, I'm fine. Thank goodness. I don't I don't have any. I mean, kidney stones, but those are hell. I'll trade that for any physical pain
Yeah,
because you can't outstretch a kidney stone. You just feel like you're gonna die.
it's
But
one of the reasons I have this extra glass of water here to make sure it tries to get it flushed. Also an exclusive.
yes,
But
yeah, no, God bless them. God, and for anybody out there trying to do it, good luck, have fun, enjoy it. It's not pay. Remember what you like. Enjoy it. Find somebody that you enjoy working with. Find somebody that you enjoy riding with. It's yeah, be smarter than me. Try to make money at everything.
we've been going at it for a while, so I guess I'll
Yes.
finally throw in the yellow light, try to wind things down a bit. So that being said, if you're interested in plugging any social media you have, or where we can get a hold of you to book you, or if you got merch floating around, or where we can find you coming into 2026, whatever what you need to plug.
I have Destination 6. I think January 17th sounds right. I got to film a promo for them sooner or later. Let's see. I think that's all I really have um, guaranteed right now. I'm sure I'm going to be working through with them for the rest of the year. I just right now it's the hockey. Hybrid Kane at Instagram. That's kind of usually where I put more of my stuff because I just like I enjoy pictures better than people's opinions on Facebook. So if that makes any sense. But Facebook, I think it's just Oliver William Kane. Um, I don't really update. I have like a Oliver Kane fan page, but I don't really mess with it. I'm kind of just I put my stuff up on Instagram and Facebook. Get a hold of me. Shoot me a Facebook message or OWC2283 at Yahoo. I was told that if you say yahoo.com, then you're old. So I've stopped saying .com. Um, Mad Bash Wrestling. Look for that podcast coming out soon about reviewing the lawn dart, as I called it. This is how wild I got into that. I tracked down what bat they used, what version of the Easton Magnum. I'm like, oh, so Easton Magnum with the blue handle of what they used to. Um, yeah, I got really OCD about it or ADHD about it, hyper focused as my wife calls it. But no, man, I really appreciate this. It was good talking with you. I'll come on anytime just to bullshit about anything because it's good luck to you. Thank you so much for remembering me and all this stuff and reaching out. Um, I'm just I'm in my giving flowers era. I mean, don't get me wrong. I probably have a bunch of stories. I have a bunch of stories to bury people, but what's the point?
Right.
I'd rather just enjoy life and bullshit and have a good time. And thank you again. I don't know how to end it.
Uh,
I guess.
no, that's kind of like where I go to end it is, me thanking you for coming on, and then talk about how like it was just so freaking sweet to at a certain level come full circle in my independent wrestling viewing career to get one of the guys that were on my very first show, and by proxy, as I said, like I got it on DVD, so like I might like I don't quite remember you yelling at us specifically, so you might have been nice to us. I know Jason yelled at us, me and my friend.
Oh, Cliff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he
Dude, I used to always come in and like put heat on the baby face and then tag Cliff in to take the I can't even think of the word right now. Hope spot.
see we like and then I'll try to end it on this. We'll see how successful I am. But
Yeah.
yeah, the one of the things that like stuck out was because you guys come out and he ragged on somebody, and it was
Yeah.
hilarious. Like,
Oh,
even back then I was enough kind of a smark that like I will cheer for the heels if you guys are hilarious enough. And he like nailed somebody, and it was hilarious. And so we were like, yeah, because my friend's also an asshole. And he and he
we
looked at us
we always
and he looked at us like,
yeah.
you do not need to clap for me. We're just-
We would always try to break each other. Let me tell you this one real quick and then we can go. So, my favorite thing that broke us, we wrestled in Springfield for this place called New Midwest. And at the time, we used to have our wives as our valets, and they would come out and we would be in dress clothes and they would take our dress clothes off and we'd have our gear underneath and all this stuff. Which I feel like I'm always like a couple months before it hits big. Like I had like the affliction style shirt for the hybrids, and then everybody started doing it. I had and I'm like, I did the my guy from um Ohio who used to wrestle as Dustin Ray's. He still wrestles now. He would make my gear, but now someone else makes it. But like I had him do croc kick pads. Like I found 3D croc print and stuff. Then all of a sudden then the OVA, Ohio versus everyone started doing it because he made their shit too. And I'm like, oh, so it like exploded. So now anytime I see someone in the locker room with Crocs, they won't believe me if I'm like, I I was doing that 10 years ago. I started that. You know what I mean? They won't. They're like, sure you were, old man. Um, but we would always try to break each other. But one time where, you have those moments where the fans say stuff to you and you lose it. So we're walking around and Cliff's doing his Cliff thing and he's showing his muscles off. And we had no idea what we were doing. It was just instinct. You know what I'm saying? And this lady looks at Cliff and she goes, I wouldn't have sex with you even if you were my own son. And it was some hillbilly woman, like, and he was like, and like, I overhear it and I'm like, what the,
how do you respond?
that's, and she wasn't saying it like to shut it, like, you know what I mean? It was a legit, she wasn't saying it to be like shocking. She was like, I wouldn't have sex with you if you were my own son. And we're like, what? 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 So, so yeah, we would always try to break each other with stuff and inside jokes and yeah. No, I am that is awesome that um let me touch on Destination
Yeah.
6 real quick one time because because he came. So a couple years like last year, I they're doing the Ultimate X thing again this year in January. My ass won an Ultimate X match. 41 years old, I'm climbing the damn. Why you got me up here? So I knew I was going to do this match, and then I was going to do a cage match. Then I was going to do we were going to end it with a casket match with Shank. So I got a hold of my I posted this on Instagram, so I just want to tell a story because I'm proud of it. Um, I got a hold of my gear guy and I was like, hey, can you make me Spider-Man gear for the the Ultimate X match or whatever they call it, non copyrighted version of kind of like the big game instead of Super Bowl, right? Uh, I was like, all right, well, I knew I was having this, progression of matches. It's like, well, can you make me a gear that's half Spider Man and then half a like Venom symbiote, like taking over it, and then can you make me a pair of gear that's just the black Spider Man like Venom gear, just black Venom gear with like a 3D kind of like paint on it. He decided to do it, which made it look so like because I had never seen someone tell a story using their gear as a way to progress a story, except for like, back in the day with
Yeah,
Shikara,
say
where,
Chikara sounds like
you know,
very Chikara something to do.
but it was something that no one's really does anymore. And I thought, but yeah, no, those Ultimate Max matches, your feet when they're dangling are like middle rope, but you feel like you're way higher than that. They are, yeah. I was like, oh, I'm gonna fall and I'm gonna not be able to get back up here. And it's always fun when you have actually athletic endeavors in a match that you can't work. You can't work climbing across those cables to if you're blown up and you can't pull yourself up and climb across them, you're SOL. But
So that
yeah,
they did that
so
to Homicide in TNA with that. What was that?
oh
What
fuck
was that like
that. Pardon my
Terradome?
language. Sorry. Sorry.
They had like it was like Terradome cage where it was like
Yeah.
the AAA style cage where you're supposed to crawl out the center,
Hmm.
and like his I can't remember if it was his arm or his leg was buggered up, like he's working hurt,
Yes.
and they're like, you're gonna win. How do you win? You climb out the center of the center of the top of the cage.
So yeah, so yeah, no, that's always it's but I guess I told my stories I can tell you there. We can but we're ended here, whatever, but anytime you want to bullshit, man,
I'll
about anything.
I'll do the threat that I did with a Starling, where I'll just like one day just like compile just a list of names, and we will play word association with,
Okay. I'm down for whatever.
there we go.
Other than Tuesday nights, which is hockey practice night, I got nothing.
There we go. But go ahead and hit the go home on this one finally, because
Yes.
we blown past. Like I already started late when I said I'd try to wind things down, but I
That
it's
was
all
fine.
good. Um,
If we counted the amount of time
oh
before we started this thing, we're probably like 2 hours
oh
plus.
yeah,
So
yeah. We're getting the ridiculous parts for some rando that's taking you away from your family. But thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure. It's great
oh
just to I don't know, just relive things vicariously and go back. Shoot, man, like what was it, like 15 years. We're not the 20-year
it's
mark,
been a
but it's been
while.
like it's been like 15 years, 16 years, something like that. But
Yes.
thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Oh no. Thank you for having me on. And like I said, anytime you just want to bullshit or anytime or if you just have a random question you want to send me on Facebook or whatever, I'll answer it. Ain't no big deal. I enjoyed this and you know, maybe we'll find something to bullshit about that's not just me.
The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaOfCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the description below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.